on? What you talking about? Wait a minute.
What's up guys, it's Revital here. Welcome back to another video. Yes, I understand that the scenery has once again changed, and I think in my last 3 videos I've never recorded in the same spot, so I got that going for me. But I do have a good reason. I moved houses, I switched rooms, so that's why I haven't even been uploading as frequently as I wanted to. I usually do like once a month, but I wasn't able to do that because of a bunch of stuff, and you know how it is. But anyway, today's video is gonna be about legit checking these. Jordan 1s have gotten really popular this year with like a bunch of new releases like the Shadows, Game Royals, Bread Toes, and I just want to help anybody who's trying to get a pair make sure that their pair is legit, because there are reps of Bread Toes, and I'm not sure about Game Royals or Shadows, but there are definitely reps of Bread Toes, and you guys need to watch out because they are quite good. So I'm gonna break down the Jordan 1, what to look for, and it's gonna be like 3 main categories. It's gonna be the back shape, the Nike swoosh, but more so just the medial side of the shoe, and also the toe box, which I do see a lot of replicas get wrong, and that's a key point to look at when you're legit checking ones. And by all means, I am no expert at all. If I was an expert, I'd probably be working for StockX, even though StockX does let a few replicas get through, but we're not gonna throw shade at them. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I think I know my stuff. I've owned a lot of ones, maybe not as much as a lot of other people, but I've owned about, I think, 5 pairs now. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing that I look at when I'm legit checking a pair of ones is the back shape. Anything past 2016 will have a back shape that looks like an hourglass. You'll see in the B-roll there is an hourglass shape. I don't know if maybe I can highlight it for you, but I'm pretty sure you can see it. And it's really defined. It's really defined. You know it's an hourglass shape. It has a really distinct shape. Now on releases older than 2016, like 2013 Black Toes and stuff, I think they still do have that hourglass shape. I don't think they changed at all. So actually, there are some ones such as the older Bread releases and the 2001 Royal release, but I've seen some pictures of that, and they dead stock do have that hourglass shape. But once people start wearing the shoe and once it gets worn out, the hourglass shape can disappear. It does get a little deformed, but that's nothing you have to worry about if you're just trying to get the newest releases, at least. So on the back, make sure you see that hourglass, and also there's this little tab that like almost everything fans out of. It's like a squarish tab. It's more of a square than a rectangle, so I'm gonna just call it the square tab. And there's stitching on there, and the stitching, there's like 2 types of stitching on there. One's going vertically and one's going horizontally. The horizontal stitching should be good. It should be straight and it should be neat. I have seen some pairs where the stitching's not as neat, and it can be a little wonky, but most pairs I do have, stitching's neat on there. And the vertical stitching is vertical stitching. I don't know how you could get it wrong, Jordan brand, but maybe some replicas do get it wrong, but the stitching should just be immaculate, really. Stitching on ones are really good, and I don't think Jordan brand has a lot of quality control issues with that, so you don't have to really worry. If you see that the stitching on the shoe is good, chances are it might be legit. You don't know yet, but it might be legit. Okay, so moving on to the medial side of the shoe, where the Nike swoosh is, where the Wings logo is. We're gonna look at the Nike swoosh first, because there is something Jordan brand does that differs from like all the other replicas. So on the Nike swoosh, the stitching on there is really good, like the rest of the shoe. It's so clean, it's really precise and neat. Also, the cut on the Nike swoosh is clean as well. But the thing that I see a lot on replicas is they stitch right on the edge of the swoosh. Like they won't leave any room at all, and it just be right on the edge of the swoosh where it's cut. and that's where they'll stitch it. But on retail pairs, they leave just a tiny space in between the edge and the stitching, and it's quite easy to see. So they leave a tiny space when they stitch the swoosh, and that's one thing I always look for, because some reps, they don't do that and it's obvious, and that's something you could tell like right off the bat. But if it does have that precise stitching with that little space between, that's a good sign. Okay, now I know most people know this one, but when you're looking at the Wings logo, it says Air Jordan, and the Jordan has an R and a D in it, and the R should connect with the D. The bottom of the R should connect with the D. A lot of people know that, but this is for people that might not know that. If it's not connecting, that is a little sus, because Jordan brand has probably been using the same stamp for years now, and it's always had that R and D connecting, unless the paint is chipping. But if you're buying something dead stock, why would the paint be chipped? It's just something you should keep in mind when you're looking at it. Alright, third and final thing that I look at is the toe box. The toe box on replica pairs are really chunky, and just overall it's not the right shape. On the toe box of the ones, especially used ones, if you see a used one, the toe box should be really smooth, and like it should be kind of flat. It shouldn't be too round, it should be a little bit flatter. It should like conform to the shape of your foot, but that's unused pairs. Maybe dead stock pairs it is a bit rounder, but it's never too round. Like on my bread toes, see, it's not too bad on my bread toes. You can see that little curve, but overall it's pretty flat. Now on some pairs of ones, I have seen where the toe box legit looks like a Continental 80s toe box, because that leather is just so smooth, and I like to call this the crushed toe box, because I don't know, it sounds cool and it looks like crushed. But yeah, just make sure you look out for that on some retail pairs that are dead stock. Of course it's not going to have that because it hasn't been worn yet, but that toe shape on the replicas is always a bit too aggressive, but on the retail pairs it's just smoother. So always compare with pictures. Like compare the toe shape with pictures, make sure it looks right, make sure it looks correct. On some pairs it is a dead giveaway, but on others it's not so noticeable. So that's like the three main things I look for when legit checking a one. There are some red flags though that you could just scratch off like right away. So the first one would be the seller. If the seller is acting shady for no apparent reason, if they don't have a receipt, they don't have any form of proof that they bought the shoe from a legit place, that is suspect. Because if you're trying to sell a shoe, of course you want it sold, so you'll provide that stuff. And I'm pretty sure if you were looking to sell it, you wouldn't lose that stuff in the first place. Like when I buy a pair of ones, I always keep the receipt in the box. Like any shoe, I always keep the receipt in the box in case I do need to sell it. I always have it with me to show that, yeah, it's legit. But if sellers are like, nah, I lost the receipt, dude, like, stay wary of that. And also, if they claim to buy it from like StockX or GOAT, make sure they have their GOAT authentication card. GOAT should start doing something more than a card, because even cards are getting replicated, believe it or not. And make sure if they bought from StockX, they have StockX tags. I have seen replicas of StockX tags, but they're not the updated ones. So if it's an old StockX tab, you might need to ask for their StockX receipt. I think you should ask for it anyways, including GOAT, because they always send you a receipt, and you can always check in the app. Tell them to like screenshot the recent purchases with the app, and it will show up. If it doesn't show up, there's something going on there. I don't know, just be careful. Make sure you meet the seller in person. Like, I know a lot of people don't like meeting in person, but if you really like this shoe, if you really want this shoe, meet up in person. Also, another red flag and one good thing about meeting in person is you get to feel the shoe. On some recent releases in the past 5 years, the leather quality, there has been some ones that has great leather quality, such as the bread toes for the most recent ones. Shadows are really buttery. The Royals are really tumbled. Breads aren't as tumbled as the Royals. So if you see a pair of tumbled breads, that is a little sus, because most breads I've seen aren't as tumbled as the Royals. And the holy grail of ones, buttery ones, the shattered backboards. if you're buying a pair of shattered backboards, you gotta make sure that you could feel that leather in hand, because the leather on there is perfect. It's very smooth. It's really hard to replicate. On some replica pairs of ones, the shattered backboards, they're terrible. I've seen pictures. I've actually seen a pair in real life, believe it or not. It was in public and I could just tell because the leather wasn't tumbled at all, and it was just really, it looked like a rare Air Jordan 1 leather quality. Say it at best. So yeah, just make sure you evaluate the shoe in person if you want that guaranteed protection. I want to say protection, more like if the seller's willing to like meet you up in person, they're willing to give you everything, they're willing to give you OG all, that's a good sign. It's probably legit, but still, it's your choice. Not every single one is legit. Just be careful. Even though I told you all this, even though I went through what to look for, there are some pretty good replicas, and they can slip through the cracks. Even StockX, GOAT, some of those even slip through the cracks. So you just gotta be careful and go with your gut feeling. If you feel something wrong about the shoe, I'd say just pass up on it. And another red flag, if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Let's say you want a pair of Chicago's and there's one for $300. That is a definite red flag because Chicago's run for around $800 resale. For $300 is probably really beat up, so why would you even want to buy a beat up shoe for $300? And honestly, it's probably fake. So yeah, whenever you're looking to buy a pair of ones, just keep these in mind. It's something that will help you get past the really obvious fakes, but even on the really good fakes, you can probably tell because the stitching, everything, it's not as consistent, and it definitely isn't as good as Jordan brand, but some of them are. So you just gotta be careful. If you do buy through GOAT or StockX, you can keep your mind clear because obviously they've been doing it for a long time. Yeah, some things do get through, but 9 times out of 10 it doesn't, and you can rely on it being safe and legit. So with that being said, just stay safe. When you're buying shoes, make sure it's not shady. Just be careful, be on the lookout. Follow my Instagram in the description. Yeah, this is a plug. First plug in all my videos. I just went on public for the first time and I'm like, I need the followers, man. So if you could, that'd be great, but you don't have to. I don't really care. This has been Revital. Stay safe. Peace out.
I think you're beautiful, baby, now don't you agree? I know this ain't pretty, but do something ugly for me. And keep this a secret, I know that you do this to me. But I want you blindfolded and handcuffed into the damn seats. With a freak in me, now that you see, we can't be. Mink on the pillows, mink on the sheets. Went from the bathroom to the kitchen to the sink. The only color I wanna see is pink. The only color I wanna see